I wanted people to think, oh man, it's going to be that kind of show with the big speeches and quiet and slow, and then we come out and we change it all up right away.
I don't know what that man does, but he has a beautiful way of answering his phone. He's the most reliable. He's so busy. He's like one of the busiest men. He's building this whole entire universe. And yet you text him and he's like, give me 5.
Revolution starts now.
What a swell party this is.
Can you talk about, I mean, is there a real world inspiration for that or something you're taking it from, this idea of revolution for its own sake and the experience of it?
I mean, the show is, I mean, in the macro sense, it's a survey of, it's a big opportunity to do a whole, I mean, who's ever going to get a chance to do another 1,500 pages on revolution again, right? With this much money and this much muscle and everything else. So, I mean, and we can talk about that if you want, but that's not what I get up every day and start to work on. I don't say, oh, I'm working really, really small. And like the scene that you're talking about, you know, how I'm going to start the show really matters. And we've been away for a long time. And, you know, and people last time were like, wow, the show's really great, but it starts a little bit slow and you got a slow burn. And I'm like, I got that on my mind. I'm like, all right, well, you know, there's a little bit of a attitude on my part. So that scene with her does many, many things for me as a writer. I mean, it tells you what he's been doing for the whole year. You know, this absent year, he's been a leader. He's been obviously on these escalating missions for Luth and stealing. I mean, oh my God, he's stealing a TIE fighter. I mean, so they're very much in the business of these missions, and it also, I mean, if you watch it really closely, there's a little bit of manipulation in there on his part as well. He's making sure she's going to get through this thing, and you know what she's saying as well is, you know, I've been happy here. That's the line that popped up in writing it that made it so interesting to me when she says, "Oh, I've been happy here," and you think of all the people in the show who are forced to make decisions when history comes and kicks their door down, and they've been happy there, and we didn't put any music on it. Everybody was like, "I'll put music on it and do other things." No. I wanted people to think, oh man, it's going to be that kind of show with the big speeches and quiet and slow, and then we come out and we change it all up right away.
What was your take on that speech, and I'm just wondering how much you felt like Cassian actually believed it, or how much he was just selling?
No, he truly believes in that. I think when we see him in season 2, when we meet him, a year has passed, and it's been a very important year. I think he learned a lot, he growed a lot, and he's fully committed, you know. The problem is he doesn't really understand what he's fighting for, you know. I think it's the big picture, the one he still has to understand. But in terms of believing in change and believing in involvement and in sacrifice, I think he's there. And he's saying something. He's saying, don't let fear get in between, right? It's quite beautiful and idealistic also, like a revolution has to be, you know. I think there is, it's a great reminder of how romantic the idea of revolution is, you know, somehow. I keep saying that this second season, it's about all the layers, you know, and the climate, social and political climate that needs to happen for a revolution to erupt, for a rebellion to exist, and the series is very meticulous in delivering all those layers, you know, because yes, there is loss, yes, there is injustice, there is fear, there is anger, but love is the core of it, right? I mean, love and belonging and family and the understanding of love is important, and that's why it's a very romantic idea, you know, I think, and Cassian is there at the beginning, you know. but then he has to witness so much in order to get to the point where he's actually willing to sacrifice everything for the cause.
Everyone has kind of deeper and broader roles this season, but you have kind of the most, I don't mean most improved in the sense of quality, but just in terms of breadth and, you know, the sort of vast range of things you get to do, from, you know, a farmer to an urban dweller to an addict to things like this. I mean, I'm not sure how much you even knew about what your role was going to be this season going into it, the process.
I'll tell you something. From season 1, when I first signed on to this wonderful job, Tony believes that information is power. He doesn't believe in withholding information as power. And he told me pretty much sort of the arc of where he thought Bix was going to go and the overall arc of the show. And it's exactly what he told me. And it's rare. I think it's rare in this industry that you get someone to share that with you so early on, that you can kind of process it and think about it and not be surprised by what you read on the page or overexcited by these really amazing moments that I get to play in this season. But I mean, then getting to read them and seeing just every kind of twist and turn that she has to go from PTSD to sort of being addicted to, you know, droppers, which helps her sleep and get over the nightmares, to then her last final decision. It's a lot, and reading it was incredibly scary. But this season I just felt so cushioned. I've never done a season 2 of anything, so coming back to kind of a family, people who I've already built a series with, I was able to go to places that I've never sort of dabbled in my career, because I felt so safe at every twist and turn that this character takes. Before I read episode 1, I knew the end.
Wow.
Which, again, it's just unheard of. And, you know, what also is unheard of is having so much access to the source. You know, I have access to Tony. I don't know what that man does, but he has a beautiful way of answering his phone. He's the most reliable. He's so busy. He's like one of the busiest men. He's building this whole entire universe. And yet you text him and he's like, give me 5. And he'll do anything to get on the phone with you and support you in any way that is possible. So during the strike, because we did film during the strike, you know, I miss that dearly. But then I had Diego sort of become that for me. You know, he was my sort of source.
There is this sense of, obviously, in so many ways, this is a big epic and large in every way. And I think you mentioned almost 200 speaking roles between
400
the two
in both
seasons.
seasons
Combined. That was just for
400.
one.
400.
My goodness. But at the same time, it feels like the most important scenes and are intimate in their way, right? They're one-to-one conversations in the end. I mean, does that work best, or is that just how you write, or what do you think?
I start small. I work teaspoon by teaspoon. I've never found any other way to do it. I work really, really small, and I make a lot of messes. And sometimes I'm always hoping that a navigational scene will pop up. Oh my God, that's a great idea for a scene. I got to get to that, or that's a good idea. But I never, like, the idea of, you come out and sell and people are always seeing all agendas and different things, and it's like the idea of, I want to do a movie about corporate malfeasance and law firms. I would never start that way. Michael Clayton never came about that way. It was about, like, oh my God, what would it be like to be a guy in the back of the firm here as a fixer? That's really interesting. And what would he do? And I dig my way in spoonful by spoonful.
I think it's a choice. I think it's a choice of this of Andor, and I think that choice was made from the beginning and the genesis of all of this, which is Rogue One. You know, I mean, Rogue One is a story about these regular people, you know, doing something extraordinary. The universe of Star Wars never stopped to tell the story of these regular people that becomes crucial, you know, for the history, you know, that we know. So this is an Andor just goes deeper, you know, and further in terms of that, of witnessing the regular life of regular people. And finding out how much we can understand about and how much we can learn about just witnessing those intimate and personal journeys, you know. It's about the strength of community, but I think very patiently Tony talks about community. First of all, explaining who each of these characters is, you know. I think it's a paradox somehow that the show is called Andor, because it's about community. It's an ensemble. It's about what they're capable of doing together, you know. And there's no point on watching this unless we get to that point where we're actually working together, you know. And the complexity of that is what makes this show interesting. The complexity of actually putting a bunch of people to work with the same aim, you know. It's not simple.
Yeah, you get to kind of peek into the relationship of these two individuals, and you know, this show, with all the chaos that is happening, there's a beautiful love story underlying it all. And I think, you know, there is no rebellion without love, without understanding what love is and what belonging means. And I think Tony did such a beautiful job of highlighting that, and I feel very lucky that I got to be a vessel to that.
We took no creative notes on this show. I mean, Kathy's involved in she's seeing everything we're doing, all the cast. I mean, we're doing all that, and Disney's certainly watching our dailies and everything. But I can't imagine ever having this. I've never had this much freedom before, even on Final Cut films where I worked on. I mean, this the latitude and the astonishing. We had economic issues and things we had to change, and some things were significant, and those were collaborative and difficult conversations occasionally, but never anybody ever. We changed one word, you know, and everyone knows what that word is that we changed, and that they were right, and that was easy. That was an easy one to climb down from. But man, they just let us run free range all the way through. Canon is a different subject, but I've seen Canon stretch so much. From Rogue, it was really tight on Rogue. No knives, no pay. No, I can't do this. Well, a lot of things have changed there since then. Yeah.
That's the way Tony Gilroy likes working. You know, he writes for people. You know, I think what makes this second season even stronger is that he knows us so well now, that he can write for us, also as performers, you know, and our characters are now rounded and robust because it's us, and because we carry 2 years of knowing each other and working together, and he gets involved with the whole process, you know. So he edits, he's there always. So now when he writes a scene between Stellan and I, it's also because he knows our dynamic, or when he writes about Biggs and Cassian, it's because we built something together. We got there together, you know. And Tony is always open for a chat. He's always calling the actors, you know, and he works closely with all the designers, you know. Luke Hall is there at the beginning of everything, you know. But Michael and Emma and everyone is there. I remember going for these meetings with the team that was building the droids and designing the droids, and we were working, you know, with that team, you know, and that shapes the relation this character has with his droid, you know. There is a process, and we get there together, and this show is about collaboration, which makes it enjoyable for everyone involved, you know. We all came back. I mean, it's easy to say that. Obviously, I was going to come back, but everyone came back. Like, everyone came to work on season 2 after doing season 1, and that tells you something, you know?
Talk about episode 3, right? Like, showing sort of the abuse of power in a galaxy far, far away. It's this beautiful mirroring image that I think Tony does, you know, of showing a real world and our real dynamics and real dynamics in relationships, and even in the abuse of power, that this happens here, and it happens far, you know, in a galaxy far, far away, and to be able to go there and sort of bring light to that is huge, and it's also a big responsibility. That last speech is, I still haven't been able to watch it. It was the scariest moment that I've ever been presented with, and I didn't know how to tackle it as an actress. It really sort of, that weight, that I felt that weight. I'm a huge fan of Rogue One. I respect that movie dearly, and I was going to propel this character into one of my favorite movies, and the idea of that was one that took me a second to wrap myself around, and yeah, it took me a while to sort of get into the scene. I was a mess. It took me takes and takes of me absolutely just bawling through that scene until finally it gets to what I believe they used.
Fantastic actor, Alan. And again, I mean, we are talking about the droid that Alan brought to life. Alan's behind it. He has no filter, right? And it's incredible. I mean, I had so much fun playing with him, and having him back means a lot. And that's also beautiful from this season. We now have to see the journey of all the characters we met in season 1, but we have to welcome those who inevitably are gonna come into the mix, because we finished this at the beginning of Rogue One. So yeah, gladly Alan was back.
I know I'm doing with Cassian. I know that the first year is the making of a revolutionary, and the road to Damascus, to that, that's the first year. And I know I'm leading to Rogue. I know where he's going to end up. I know I have some canonical things on the board. I have the Gorman massacre that leads to Mon Mothma. I have some things, and I know that I want it to be. I know that the gauntlet that I want him to run through. I don't think I really. I didn't have all these characters accumulated at the very beginning, and a lot of what these you get a big show like this, and where time is really your friend in a way, and you watch who rises and who you have. I mean, I've been in here all day with Genevieve. I mean, Genevieve was in Rogue, and I knew her from Rogue, but I mean, she's a piece of furniture really in those things. I mean, what is she really doing? I have to have her. She comes over. Okay, she's a legacy character. My God, she can, look what she can do. She can do anything. Oh my God, holy crap. She's a freaking Steinway. Let's go for it. And so I could do that with Elizabeth Dulau, who plays Luthen's assistant. She could be the Sorcerer's Apprentice, or she could be one of the greatest actresses I've ever worked with in my life. And oh my God, let's just go for it. So some of it's opportunity, and some of it's by design. But no, I'd be lying if I said I had the whole thing worked out. Yeah.
Andor is amused by finding out what Luthen is capable of. I mean, you as audience, you know what Luthen is capable of, but Andor, when he decides to join, when he says, kill me or take me in, he has no clue who Luthen is, really, and this year, again, is the year where he gets to find out who he's following, who he decided to trust, and that completely transforms him. Like, he's dressed, as a pilot inside, and this is the first moment we see him inside this Imperial facility. He's already playing a character, and doing it pretty well. Therefore, you can tell what happened, over the course of that year. It's also very nice how the writing, tells you just enough to understand what these characters went through, in the blank spaces, that we don't see, and it's cool. It's cool. All the answers are always there in the script. But yeah, Varian Sky is the name of that character, and he's just letting us know, as audience, that he's learned everything from Luthen really fast.
Working with a whole new set of directors. I mean, were these people that you picked out, or was it?
Yeah, man, it's people don't understand how complicated it is to get. I was completely on the first season and the second season. First season we had to hire British directors because of COVID and we were strapped. But it's a huge competition for directors. And the work that you have to put into it, even before you start going after people, you have to watch all the episodes and watch and see what you like, and then you have to go for the person and can they fit the slot and the thing, and 7 other people are trying to get them, and someone else is offering them the pilot episode, and which means something else to them. It's very, very competitive, and we really lucked out this time around. We really fought hard for some people, and then you have to cast the directors to the material, like, is this the right person for this piece? And it's it's not for the faint of heart. You lose a lot of people, and then people come back in, and I don't think people realize how competitive it is and how cutthroat it is to do that. Yeah, because it's a really big commitment for them.
He has to get in love. He has to feel like he's capable of changing someone's life, and that's love, He has to fall in love and has to feel that vulnerability in order to know his capacities, I think it's as simple as that. I mean, then we can bring all the other layers into the mix. And the layers are there. That's also where the complexity of this show is, All the layers are there. We have time to explore them, in fact. So there's time for that. But if we go to the core, is that he has to go through that personal process, And everything has been taken away from him, since day one. We witnessed that in season 1, where we see that flashback to his childhood, and he has to understand that home is inside, that he can be home. Home can be there, therefore there's a reason to fight, and he has to deal with the idea of being a leader. He has to deal with what others see in him, that he's not completely capable of seeing. He has to understand that too. A lot for him to witness, The awakening is not finished.
Welcome to the rebellion.